All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about food chains and food webs. Now, let's preface that by saying that once again, everything, all the energy on Earth begins at the sun, and we're going to need something to do photosynthesis because we have to take that light energy and turn it into some kind of chemical energy, and this in the form of sugar, C6H12O6. Happy little byproduct, once again, as we talked about, is oxygen. So we get to breathe, they get what they need, and all is well. All right, so an organism that makes glucose during photosynthesis is called a producer. Okay. We also, another name for it is autotroph. All right, so any producer, anything that makes its own food, so we got some corn here, a tree, the leaves, all right, any organism that's going to do photosynthesis is going to be called a producer. Now, if we have aquatic ecosystems, we also have things like algae, photoplankton, things that like that, but they are essentially the base of a food chain, food web, food pyramid in an aquatic ecosystem. So both terrestrial, on land, or aquatic, they're going to need some kind of producer that sits at the base of the food chain, food web, or food pyramid. All right, so anything else other than a producer would be considered a consumer. Now, when we say consumer, all right, we're talking about anything that has to eat to gain its energy. Okay, so we got the dog, the vet, the butterfly, the whale eating a boat. Of course, that's a real thing. You know, not. But you get the idea. So anything that has to eat to obtain its energy. Also, there's some that do what we call chemosynthesis, which they used chemicals to make their energy. But for this survey of this course, we're not really going to go into that one. So, a consumer is also known as a heterotroph. Now, I will use these terms interchangeably, so please make sure you know both. On the quiz or the test or the whatever, I will use them interchangeably, so you need to make sure that you know both. All right, so the order of consumers. So we have this, broad category consumers, and then we have a bunch of little variations or subcategories of consumers. All right, the first one we would call a primary consumer or first order consumer. These things are going to eat grass. All right. Eat plants or things like algae, things of that nature. Okay. We call them herbivores because they are only eating the plants. Second order consumers are second order or secondary consumers, whatever we like to call them. These can be carnivore, which means meat eaters, or omnivores. Kind of directly translated means everything eaters, but they're going to eat both plants and meat, other animals, insects, things like that. We always talk about, when we do this in class, we talk about these guys. We always say the easy, obvious example of omnivore is humans. But a lot of times in these ecological units, I like to kind of take humans out because we're all over the place in terms of like what we eat, what we don't eat. We got vegans, vegetarians, we got people who carnivore. It's just all over the place. So we kind of take them out. My two favorite examples would be bears and pigs. All right, these two animals, bears, we've all seen the pictures of them swatting salmon out of the river and things like that, but they also eat nuts, twigs, berries, leaves, seeds. Like they'll eat a bunch of different things. Pigs are the same way. They'll eat just about anything in nature and in captivity. They both eat just about anything. So there's two more real world examples for omnivores. I think the note is down here of what an omnivore actually is. once again, eats plants and animals. Tertiary or third order consumers. Sorry. These guys are carnivores and omnivores as well. Usually they're going to be sitting at the top of the food chain, a food pyramid, especially now. There's quaternary, there's higher levels of consumers, but for our purposes, we go primary, secondary, tertiary, first order, second order, third order. We usually kind of stop around third order just because we do. It just is what it is. Like, it keeps going on. You can have something that's fifth in the food chain, sixth in the food chain, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, just depending on the food chain. They can be very, very long. All right. So, what is a food chain? All right. This is our fancy definition. This is the transfer of energy from the sun to a producer, primary consumer, and then higher order consumers in a row. Now, the key here is it goes from one thing to the next to the next. So it's more or less like a straight line. We go from A to E with B, C, D steps along the way. Okay, we just kind of go to one, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. It is like a chain, like links of a chain. It's just one after the other. It doesn't really snake around. It just goes from one point to the other. I use the term linear a lot. It is a straight point from point A to point E with several stops along the way. On the other hand, a food web is the interconnectedness of all the organisms in an ecosystem. So, food webs are interconnected food chains in an ecosystem. All right, they show all the feeding relationships that are in that ecosystem. So we have our grass going to our cricket, goes to the bird, goes to the hawk. So you can see here we got first order, second order, third order, primary, secondary, tertiary. So here we got grass to rabbit to hawk. So here we only have producer, primary, secondary. All right, so you can see it kind of snakes around a little bit here. We go from the tree to the cricket, or to the worm, I think is caterpillar, to the bird, and this one kind of stops there. We can go from the mosquito to here. All right, we can go from the tree to the deer to the mosquito. We can go cricket, mouse, hawk. All right, as you can see, there it is, just like it says, a web. So in a web, most oftentimes we think of them looking something akin to this, and they're interconnected all the way around. Okay, so you can see there's multiple points. You can get to multiple things in different ways. So the web is just the interconnectedness of all the different food chains. Now with this one, we can see, I would say pause it for a minute and circle 4 different food chains. So after you pause it, we'll get it started. So we got plant, rabbit, fox. There's one. Mice, plant, mice. Hawks or owls. Okay. And then we can get kind of crazy over here. We can go plant, herbaceous or herbivorous insect, predaceous insect. Insectivore are birds that eat insects, all the way to the owl. So here we got primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary. Okay, so like I said, we don't really talk about quaternary, but that is an option. So we got, and then we could go plant to spider to insect to snake. Okay, so once again, here's 1, 2, 3, 4 as opposed to just a straight 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 again. Plant, the herbivorous insect, the predaceous insect, the toad, and then the snake. So, quick overview of food chains and food webs. All right, and also make sure you know the order in which they come. That's it. Y'all have a good day.